Welcome to Unscripted with Daniel. I'm Daniel, your host, and I have Barbara Domer in here as a guest from the RDC, and I'm going to let her take the wheel and let her introduce a bit of herself.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me to come to talk about housing initiatives in Valparaiso. So, again, my name's Barbara Domer. I am a 34-year resident of Valparaiso. I also serve on Valparaiso City Council. I was elected into office by residents in District 3, so I represent District 3. And I've been serving in that capacity since January of 2024. And then the council appointed me to the Redevelopment Commission, and I've served in the capacity of the Vice President since that same time. So it's been almost 2 years now I've been on the RDC.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell me about affordable housing. What's going on right now in Valparaiso? We had a brief discussion before we hit record. You said that Valparaiso is making some promises, which seems like a good thing.
It definitely is. I'm really excited about this initiative. And, you know, when I talk about housing, I like to refer to it as attainable housing, because I really feel that that kind of broadens that housing spectrum by saying, as opposed to affordable. Sometimes people have a different impression of what affordable is. So attainable is something that we're kind of broadening that economic spectrum a little bit and saying we want more folks to be able to come into our community and have affordable housing that's attainable to them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's probably been throughout most of 2025 that the city of Valparaiso has, I believe, made a priority to make a statement about the need for more types of housing in our community. So I brought this City Talk magazine with me because they had a front page spread on Valpo works to support balanced housing. And so, you know, the mayor made a statement in this article where, you know, he says, like good communities nationwide, we're studying our housing stock and looking for ways to provide a variety of options to support our diverse community. That's a pretty powerful statement.
It is.
You know, because that's saying we're not just looking at one aspect of the economic spectrum here.
Right.
We know we have a diverse community, and that's what makes the fabric of our community so great.
Right.
Is because there's all kinds of folks here in the city. And so now we know that there are struggles and roadblocks that are impeding a lot of people who we want to stay in our community, impeding them from planting roots here.
Yeah.
And so I felt like with the city making that statement, it kind of lays the groundwork for all others in the community to say, this is a priority. And so we're going to look to ways to prioritize making this a reality for more people to come in our community or stay. And one thing, a couple of months ago when we approved, the city council approves the school budget, and the superintendent and the CFO of the school corporation presented the budget and talked about the enrollment. And from 2024 school year, 2024-25 school year to 25-26 school year, our Valparaiso community school system had a decrease in enrollment of 70 students. Now that's not a lot, but what is significant is that the decrease was much heavier in the lower grades than the higher grades. So like kindergarten enrollment decreased sharply. I don't have the statistics on that. I wish I did, but I have reached out to the superintendent to ask him for an exact number because I thought that was very, it's kind of like that's a warning bell, right?
Yeah.
By saying like, okay, well, we're developing neighborhoods and subdivisions in our community, but yet our kindergarten enrollment is down. And so what that tells me, I mean, it's not the only reason our kindergarten enrollment is down, because there are other factors as well. People just aren't having as many children,
Right.
you know, things that the city obviously cannot control. But one thing that it tells me is that young folks are having a harder time setting roots in our community. And so that's apparent in the enrollment numbers.
Is that just something that was noticed for 2024, or is this been a trend, not just kindergarten, but maybe first grade is showing slightly lower amounts as well? And why would it be now? Maybe this is too hard of a question, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I wasn't close to the numbers until this year, so I don't, as far as historically goes, I don't know what the core, whether there is there was a progressive downward trend. I'm not sure about that, but I do recall being told that the kindergarten enrollment dropped sharply with regard to, I don't know what time frame. I don't know if it was 25 years ago, comparing it to an all-time low. So that, to me, I would I think this would be good to get some more information on that, but it just tells me, one thing, that, wow, we do need, we need some people to stay in our community who are younger and are having children, because I think the housing that's being built, a lot of the housing that's been built, is possibly being geared more towards people of higher economic means, which also lends itself to maybe older children, right? Middle school, high school, maybe even children that have graduated from high school. So I just thought that was an interesting piece of information that we just kind of have to keep in the back of our mind to say, okay, this is something that maybe will help us as well.
Yeah, that is interesting, and maybe we'll see the enrollment go up if we have an impact on affordable housing or more attainable housing. I think the phrasing of that is important. That's a really good way to phrase it. Now, it's not just his statement. There's actual material things that we're doing within the city. Could you go into some of the details of what's actually going on to make steps towards attainable housing?
Well, so the city is clearly leaning on the Redevelopment Commission to help to try to not necessarily solve the problem, but at least to make progress. And so I, just brought along a copy of the ordinance establishing the Redevelopment Commission, because, when I first was appointed to the commission, I was like, I really want to understand what the objective here of this is, because for the public, the Redevelopment Commission has kind of been mysterious for the residents of the community. It's like, what do they do? And then you listen to the meetings and you're like, I don't know what just happened. but they voted on something. And so I try, in my role, I do ask a lot of questions. And sometimes I may even have asked the question prior to the meeting, but I do that because I want to be able to articulate that, this is what I'm looking at when I'm looking at invoices or, contracts or whatever. So to try to share more information with the community. But when the RDC was established, it was to provide, afford a maximum opportunity for rehabilitation, redevelopment, and development to improve the, so it's to increase economic development within our city, right? And so when I think about that being the RDC's goal, and the fact that this financing, the TIF, is coming in to the RDC, the goal is to be able to provide increased economic development to our city. And so then I think about housing, and it's like, okay, housing is economic development, right? So,
True.
you know, a lot of times you think like, oh, economic development is like, we want to bring a factory in here. And it's like, yeah, sure. I hope more come. That would be awesome in the right place in the city. But housing itself is economic development, and there are a lot of components to it. So it's like when housing is being built, the people who are building the housing have jobs, right?
Right.
And hopefully they're local to our community. That's one thing that we really stress, although it's not mandated, but, you know, we really want to bring people into our community that are working in our community and living in our community, because when you're working and living in Valparaiso, that means that you are spending money in Valparaiso. Right? So you're going to the grocery stores, and you're going to the department store and restaurants and gas stations, the whole gamut.
Right.
And so then what that does, that increase in local spending, increases tax revenue, right?
Right.
And so the tax revenue then is what funds our city's budget, and also as a connection, you know, the RDC as well. Because it's all based on property taxes, and if some of that property tax money is being diverted to the RDC, it's our money, right? And so when we have more people that are living and working in our community and contributing to our community benefits by it. And so that's what I mean by housing is economic development. So it's like a perfect fit. Right? So the city says this is what we want to do. They charge the RDC with helping. Let's come up with some solutions, because we know that housing in our community is economic development, and that falls right in line with what the RDC is all about.
And I guess if you think about it this way, if housing is more attainable and affordable, then they have more spending money to actually spend in the city. When houses are more expensive, then, well, everyone's on an extremely high mortgage that drains their accounts, and that's not very helpful to the city itself. So I really like your point. It is economic development, and that's a great point, great angle to go at it.
Yeah.
Are there numbers to back that up? To, like, say if we were to compare that to a retail business that's, say we were to look at this, here's some retail office space. How does that compare? Can it be compared? Is it too different to compare as far as benefits to the city?
I mean, there would be, you know, when financial analysis like that are completed, it's usually on the heels of like a specific request. So it's like, here's the plan. This is what we want to do. This is how much we want to spend, like a developer. And then the city would have to, or the RDC, with help of financial advisors, would determine what the potential tax benefit is, and then weigh that against what type of incentives the developer might be asking for as well. So there's a couple different components to this thing, but it's not just like a formulaic, you know, it's really project by project. You know, with a commercial, the property tax rate is a little higher than it is for residential, but you know, all those things are, I don't want to say, I mean, I hate to say it that it's complicated, but it is, you know, and I'm an accountant, and you know, I'm looking at these numbers, and you got to study them, and really, it's taken me time to really understand, and I don't know if I even have a complete picture, even after 2 years, of all the intricacies of every deal, of every development, of a land purchase. And so it's interesting, exciting, and you know, hey, I'm happy to be a part of it, that I can actually have an impact or contribute to an impact that's helping our community in such a vital way.
Either way, you're helping people. Definitely residential development is helping a more diverse set of people be able to live and function within our community, which is a good thing, because we have all kinds of workers, and even, you know, teachers are their wages are pitiful. Expecting them to be able to afford the houses that are out there, and say Meadowbrook, we brought that up, those big houses, those 400K or those
starting
at so right. So of course that's not attainable, which is horrible.
And that's why the RDC having allocated now some budget resources. That's another thing that's it's great news for folks like teachers, first responders, our police, our fire, our EMS, and nurses as well. These are the community members. We want them. They're serving in such vital, important capacities within our community. Yeah. And I, for one, want them all living in our community.
Yeah.
So the idea behind the grants is to, kind of just help people get over that first hump of home ownership. And so the first, because the budget itself is allocated and divided into 3 sections for housing initiatives and grants, property and acquisition, and infrastructure. So we've got $1.75 million in 2026 that's budgeted in the RDC for these housing initiatives. And
Right.
And so the grants, for example, down payment assistance grants are capped at $10,000 per applicant. But, I think about and like I said, I've lived in this community for 34 years, but when I first moved in here, I was married, and we scraped together that down payment. We were both working, had 1 child, and, it was like, okay, we could buy a house. And we bought the house, and then it was like, oh yeah, then there's closing costs and appliances. I mean, those things, it's so important. It's like, wow, okay, we have to spend $4,000 to get whatever at that time,
Right.
refrigerator, stove,
All
washer,
those.
dryer.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then, furniture, that was like, okay, we're bringing the stuff over from the townhouse. And didn't have new furniture for a while. But anyway, so, this is like getting, I'm excited about this grant program because it is really going to help people just boost that first home is so important. And if you can buy it in Valparaiso, yes.
That is a great thing. Now, how much of an impact are we talking about? This is a pretty large area. How many homes do we think we can actually fit here? I guess it's sort of, you need to find the actual builders, you need to figure it out, case by case. But potentially...
For the East Side Master Plan?
For the East Side Master Plan.
Right. So I just know that a portion of the parcel is being proposed to be multifamily housing. And, that would be like townhomes or whatever they call the cluster type homes. And then the section on the further east side would be single family residential. I don't have the numbers because it's not definite the way it's going to be divided. But I am working really hard on trying to secure that northeast corner for housing, because I feel that, there's a lot to develop here. The concepts, it's really an exciting time, because one thing I have to say is we are at this location on 49, we're like 7 miles, I think, south of the lake, 7 or 10 miles or something like that, straight up 49.
Right.
The Indiana Dunes National Park, which now it's a national park and a state park, is the 4th most populated visitor national park in the country.
Wow.
And I'm like, so one of my suggestions was a hotel on that area, because I said, wait, people are coming into this community to visit the national park, And we just need them to come a little bit further south and stay in Valpo.
Right.
And then go up to the national park every day and hike and, enjoy the beach and whatever. And then if we could get them into the city, that would even be bonus. So we need to work on that. But I just feel like we've got a little jewel of some property right here.
Yeah.
And I know that it's been very controversial with regard to the community having a real vested interest in what was going to be the former the sports park. But
right.
there's so many more opportunities here, and especially with regard to the housing. We need it in our community. And it's and we have the land. So let's get some attainable housing in there and get some more people moving into our community. And I think that is something, that can be done sooner rather than later. So we don't need to have the entire plan developed and built in order to get the housing piece. The housing piece can be done first. So that has been my focus as being a member of the stakeholder group, and just continuing to really press upon that priority. Because I feel like, if it's a couple hundred residences, attainable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That is great.
Yeah.
The time scale on that, maybe 5 years instead of 10 years.
Oh, for sure.
It
could even be, depending on, you got to line up the right, the right
It's
folks.
all because of the builders who are going to do it.
Right. And there is interest. And so, I don't want to say anything right now, but, just like there are some developers that it's yes, this could happen.
Now, would they be interested in the smaller types of homes that would make it more affordable? Obviously, we have the workforce housing grants, but further, if the lot size was smaller, which is one of the proposals to make things cheaper because part of the cost is the land. Is that something that these builders are interested in pursuing, those types of initiatives?
Well, it would be a priority. There's no question about it. Okay. But understanding that the RDC owns the land.
Right.
And so that is a huge piece right there. There are already some utilities. I think it's a utility easement. I can't remember if it's a gas. I think it's a gas line. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, there's already a line that's been built as far as utilities go. Now, without a developer having control fully of the schematic, all of the details, the nitty gritty, it's I don't know what else would have to be involved with building out the utilities. You've got obviously roads and, and things like that would have to be built. But, I just want to mention that, this isn't about the developer, finding a developer who's going to do this for free, or no profit. Because, the developer's going to make money on this as well. And it's not that's the part that we're saying, do this and cut out your profits. But where there are opportunities, this is where the RDC steps in, right? So can the RDC pay for utility improvements? Can the RDC, obviously they own the land.
Right.
So that's a huge cost right there. Utilities is a huge cost right there. So it's now what can you do? Right.
Once you knock down those barriers, that opens the gate for some different developments, ones that are easier to build and more attainable to people.
Right.
That's the idea anyway, right?
Yes.
And hopefully they go with that direction. Is that what they have discussed?
Well, as far as my objectives and my initiative here, or my priorities with this project, is that this is what we must do as a community.
Right. You're working hard to make sure that that's their initiative and that's their goal as well when choosing a builder. I see.
Attainable housing.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Now, what else? You had some ideas on what you wanted to cover. What else was there?
Well, just in terms of like on an ongoing basis, it's like we want more nonprofits to come forward to the RDC, like inquire, look at the guidelines, determine whether you can complete an application, maybe, like a Habitat for Humanity. I'm just tossing that out there, but I'm saying, there's opportunities, there's funding here. It's about connecting that with someone whose mission is to build attainable housing in our community. So I just really want to just put the call out there because, we've got this, and it's not like, this is nonprofits, right, that are coming forward as the optimizer, coordinator, project manager. And then, I do want to give a shout out to some work that we had been doing as a council. 3 of the council members and several members of our community organized the Valparaiso Community Housing Partners Group. And we had 3, public forums earlier in the year just to discuss the issue of housing in our community and what we can do. And so we are now, as a group, we have kind of formed a steering committee called the Housing Activation Committee, and trying to see what this group can do with regard to connecting to a 501c3 to just have another option in our community. I think what Paradise Homes has done is amazing, and I still need to get into one of the housing units because Bill Oding did ask if anybody wanted to have a tour, and I was like, I do. They're in District 3, not too far away from my house, so that's really exciting. And so, but they are, that's not the only game in town, so to speak. Right. And so it's fantastic. I congratulate them on this because what this means is 5 more families are going to be able to get into really beautiful from the outside, homes and just steps away from our beautiful downtown area.
Let's talk about the speed of this because I believe it is the case that non-for-profits have a trouble doing it very quickly. You have maybe one going up every year. For Paradise Homes, what was the timeline on delivering these 5 homes to the market?
That I don't know what the timing is. Yeah, so that would be a Bill Oding or one of the folks from Paradise Homes to ask the question because they came to their organization applied for funding through the RDC, and so the details on what they've done and how they've done it would be best addressed to them.
Do you actually have a pen? Because mine is like completely dead, and I'm scratching.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
City of Valparaiso pen.
Yeah, perfect.
You can have it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it does work. Okay, so I will reach out to him, Bill Oding, and see because that's one of the criticisms or the limitations, not necessarily a criticism, but the limitations of non-for-profits right now. But maybe with all these incentives being given through workforce housing and through the RDC, more speed in that development can happen. I assume that's the hope of it as well.
Right.
But
we need it now. We need it yesterday, but
right. We need. Might as well start now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure what else I want to cover here. And maybe I just borrowed the pen for nothing, but.
Well, the guidelines, we have established guidelines for the grants and for property acquisition and infrastructure improvements. I'm going to see about I don't know if they're out on the website, but I think it would be a good thing to put these guidelines out on the Redevelopment Commission website, so that if anybody's interested in reviewing them, it'll be accessible, because we really want to get the word out, right?
I think it's just a PDF on the city website right now.
Okay.
Because I looked at that after talking to George. Because he mentioned that.
Okay, good. And then the application, is it out there as well?
I
we have
don't.
The guidelines and the application.
It's probably there. I didn't apply. But yeah, that's definitely an important thing to get out there.
And then I guess just one other thing that I did want to mention, because the city is just embarking on this major project right now to update the Unified Development Ordinance, the UDO.
That's part of it too.
And I just, I feel like there has to be a robust addition to this UDO with regard to housing. And it's not necessarily, I know every UDO has a housing component in it, but I really feel like we need to take what the city directed the community and the city to do, and really expand upon that in our ordinance. And so I was just looking up, in the UDO, and I just looked up one example of what a city has done with regard to putting a component in the UDO, and this is Salt Lake City, where they actually inserted into their UDO that 10% of all new tax dollars from tax increment financing districts are to be put directly into a housing initiative. And so even, I'm excited about 1.75 million because that's awesome. And I'm celebrating that. But wouldn't it be, this is really putting your money
into expanding your community.
Right. Yeah. And so I just really thought that was very exciting. And it's like, let's just, and I think the community would buy into that.
Oh, yeah.
Tenfold.
Right.
And so as successful as the RDC is with economic development means money going into housing initiatives in our city.
Yeah. 100%.
It's a great idea.
And is it going into the RDC, or is it from just
from
general?
The TIFs. So,
okay, it is from all TIFs.
Yes.
All TIFs
so that's
for the RDC. Okay.
Yeah, so
gotcha.
That's when you're making this correlation between the success of the RDC in economic development. In
that's
community.
Great. Because one of the criticisms of the RDC is that, it's just going into all these different projects, and we don't really see what benefit did I actually see? But if it's directly going there, you can directly point to that.
Exactly.
And I talked to George, and there are plenty of benefits that we do get from the RDC. It might be harder to see, and if you don't like roundabouts, then you might not see it as benefits, but traffic is a thing.
It's all part of it, and I have to say that we have something called a project spreadsheet that I'm proud of the fact that I asked for it, because it was one thing that even as being a member of the RDC, I'm like, there's so many things, there's so many projects, and federal money and state money and RDC grant match, and it's just like, where can I get it all in one place? And so here we are. And I posted on my website, they issue it quarterly, but all of these projects, the funding sources, the engineering team that's been hired to build out project description, and it's just nice to have this handy. But to the point of some people who are like, well, what are you doing? Some of these, there's going to be a trail now that they're going to build from Journeyman's, or the transit system,
Right.
parking lot to the downtown area.
Oh, cool.
I think it's a really neat idea, but to the point of some of the people who are like, how is that economic development for our community?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's beautifying our downtown. It's going to help people who live in the immediate downtown area. If they commute to Chicago, then they don't even need to take a car to the transit, because they'll have
That's
a safe
true.
way to walk. And so there's benefits like that too, but it's just very interesting because, so that's one example of what I would call not a dotted line economic development,
Right.
but then there's the Marsh Public Lift Station. So it's like, that's happening over by West Street by the hotels, to expand the sewage treatment,
That's important.
in that area. Really important, and then we have Congressman Mervan secured $1 million for separating the stormwater and the sewer system in the older part of town. Happens to be in District 3, which I'm stoked about. But
That's great.
it's like, I remember when I went on a tour of the sewage treatment facility in 24, Steve Poulos, the director, said, executive director, he said 11% of the city is still on a combined sewer and stormwater. So, everywhere else it's two different, systems because one doesn't need to be treated as as much as the other, but there's still 11% of our city that has combined. And so now we have a project that's going to be taking place in 2026 that's funded by the federal government through Congressman Mervan's community initiatives. And it's just a couple more blocks of Valparaiso that's going to have this separation.
I think that's important. Can you explain why it's important? I'm going to try to lay out what I think is going on. Obviously, you're not putting in sewage and water into the tap, right? This is the outflow
Yes.
from the houses.
So what happens is it's all going in. The outflow is going into the sewage treatment plant. But a lot of it, the outflow is stormwater.
Okay.
And so it doesn't have to go through that expensive process before it goes eventually into Salt Creek and Lake Michigan and Calumet. It's fascinating. The geography of this community is absolutely it is fascinating. If you ever, I'm learning a little bit more about it because I'm really into the history of the street that I live on. I live on Yellowstone Road, and there's a lot of cool history behind that. But in doing so, and talking with Steve Poulos is a wealth of knowledge about just water. Valparaiso sits on a continental divide.
Really?
And so half of the city's water flows to Lake Michigan, and half of the city's water flows to the Kankakee and ultimately to the Gulf of Mexico because of the glaciers.
Right.
And so it's just there's so much, but I don't, that we could do a show. What I will do is maybe 6 months from now, I'll reach out to you because I've got a lot of plans and I'm working with a lot of people to try to get some history there elevated in our community because I think it's awesome and we just got to do it. So,
well, there are a lot of great projects going on through the RDC, and what I like about what's all going on, it's like there's a lot of just confluence of different things that are coming together to solve this issue. Like you have those workforce housing initiatives, you have this big project that's going to make an impact, you have Paradise Homes, you have all these different charities that could come in at any time on that. But it's very possible that there could be a large impact. Maybe there's going to be 20 homes within the next 5 years that are attainable housing. That's a big deal.
It really is. And, the first 5 is super exciting, but it's just building upon that success. And now, that's kind of like the first one out the gate. Maybe, I don't even think they stumbled, but, just our whole process, just, the idea that we had a budget and we really didn't spend anything because we didn't get in 2025. We didn't get our guidelines out. We didn't get the application. It was just a slow start. But now that we've got things in place and have sent the first grant out, it's greater things to come in 2026.
All right. It's going to be a big year. I'm hopeful. Thank you so much, Barbara Domer, for coming in. And I'll see you in the next, maybe there's going to be in a future episode on water or something like that. Yes. But yeah.
I'll be there.
Thank you. You'll be the first one I call. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Bye now.